In the frozen forests just 120 miles from Moscow, a battle raged so intense, so catastrophic, that more soldiers would fall here than at Stalingrad, on the beaches of Normandy, or during the entire Battle of Britain. Yet this massacre was kept hidden from the world, its story suppressed by Stalin himself. The number is staggering: 2.3 million casualties. This is the story of the Battle of Rzhev, the bloodiest secret of World War II. Travel back in time and you'll discover why soldiers called this place the meat grinder, how an entire German army group found themselves ensnared for over a year in a death trap of ice and steel, why Stalin personally ordered this battle erased from Soviet records, and how this forgotten slaughter may have saved Moscow and changed the fate of the entire war. October 1941. Hitler's Army Group Center surges relentlessly toward Moscow, executing Operation Typhoon. The Soviet capital teeters on the brink, German panzers advancing with terrifying speed, the Red Army reeling. Then, as if by miracle, the Russian winter descends. Snow and ice choke the German advance just 20 miles from the Kremlin, turning roads to frozen wastelands and tanks into stranded hulks. The Wehrmacht, battered and frostbitten, is forced into retreat. But as the Germans fall back, they carve out a dangerous anomaly in the front lines, a vast protrusion known as the Rzhev salient. Picture it, a 100-mile-wide dagger stabbing out from the German front, pointed straight at Moscow's heart. Here, the front lines bulge, the German Ninth Army wedged deep into Soviet territory, threatening at any moment to lunge forward and finish what Operation Typhoon had begun. To Stalin, this salient is a tantalizing opportunity. If Soviet forces can snap it off at the base, they'll encircle and annihilate the entire German Ninth Army, over 200,000 men. Stalin can almost taste the victory, the chance to deliver a shattering blow to Hitler and eliminate the threat to Moscow once and for all. But Hitler sees the same danger. He orders Army Group Center to hold Rzhev at all costs. Losing this salient would mean surrendering the best launching pad for future attacks on Moscow. The stakes are clear. Whoever controls Rzhev holds the fate of the Eastern Front. Thus, two dictators, obsessed with prestige and survival, lock eyes across the frozen no-man's land. Each is convinced that this wasteland is the key to victory. What follows will make the Western Front seem tame by comparison. January 1942. The first of 8 Soviet offensives begins. Operation Rzhev. General Georgy Zhukov, the Red Army's most celebrated commander, leads the charge. His plan is brutally simple. Overwhelm the Germans with sheer numbers. Waves of Soviet infantry surge across open fields, machine gun nests spitting death from every hedgerow and bunker. In just 48 hours, 40,000 men are dead or wounded. But the attacks do not stop. Stalin cannot afford to stop. For Stalin, Rzhev is not just about strategy. It's about survival and legitimacy. Every day the Germans hold this salient, they remain a mere 120 miles from Moscow. Each day the Red Army fails to drive them out. The credibility of the Soviet regime is on the line. Stalin's orders are clear. Attack, attack, and attack again. And so, the battle enters its most hellish phase. Spring arrives but brings no relief. The thaw turns the battlefield into a quagmire. Trenches fill with icy mud. Artillery shells churn the soil into a red-black soup. German soldier Hans Wilhelm writes in his diary, "We are not fighting an army anymore. We are fighting a meat grinder that keeps feeding itself with human bodies." The Germans call it der Fleischwolf, the meat grinder. The Soviets have their own grim name, Rzhevskaya Мясорубка, the Rzhev slaughterhouse. It is a place where hope and humanity are chewed up and spit out with indifference. Casualties mount at a rate that defies belief. Some Soviet divisions lose 80% of their men in a single week. German units, trying desperately to hold their lines, are bled white. For months, the front lines barely budge. 8 major Soviet offensives crash against the German defenses, and 8 times they fail. Yet neither side can afford to withdraw. For both Stalin and Hitler, Rzhev has become a battle of prestige, a test of political will as much as military strength. By late 1942, the battle is no longer about territory. It is about the credibility of two totalitarian regimes. Hitler has promised his people that the Wehrmacht is invincible. Stalin has sworn to his people that the Red Army will drive out every invader. At Rzhev, both are being proven wrong by the unrelenting slaughter. Then comes November 1942, Operation Mars. This is Zhukov's largest gamble, an all-out assault to finally break the Rzhev salient. He throws nearly 700,000 men and almost 2,000 tanks at the German positions. The result is disaster. In just 2 weeks, the Soviets lose 200,000 men and most of their armored forces. It is one of the worst defeats in Red Army history, but the world will not hear of it. Stalin orders the entire battle classified. No Soviet newspaper mentions Operation Mars. No history book records it. For 50 years, the Rzhev offensives are erased from Soviet memory, hidden behind a wall of silence and propaganda. Even today, many Russians know little or nothing about Rzhev. The story shatters the myth of Soviet military genius, revealing instead that Stalin and Zhukov sent hundreds of thousands of men to die in futile attacks on impregnable positions. For the Kremlin, forgetting is preferable to remembering. March 1943. At last, the Germans withdraw from the Rzhev salient, not because the Soviets have pushed them out, but because Hitler needs the troops elsewhere. Operation Büffel, the German evacuation, is so expertly executed that most Soviet forces don't realize the enemy is gone until the next day. The Red Army claims victory, but the reality is far more complex and far more tragic. In the end, the Soviets take the salient, but at what cost? Did this forgotten bloodbath accomplish anything? Did it matter? Here's the truth. Stalin never wanted revealed. The Battle of Rzhev may have saved Moscow and perhaps the entire Soviet Union from destruction. Consider the timing. While Zhukov hurls wave after wave of soldiers at the German lines near Rzhev, Hitler is launching his great southern offensives, besieging Stalingrad, pushing toward the Caucasus oil fields. If the 200,000 German troops tied down at Rzhev had been freed to reinforce those operations, the balance of the war could have shifted dramatically. Modern historians estimate that had Hitler been able to redeploy the Rzhev garrison, Stalingrad might have fallen. The German army could have swept into the Caucasus, seizing vital oil supplies and crippling the Soviet war machine. The Red Army, already stretched to the breaking point, may never have recovered. So, while the world remembers Stalingrad as the great turning point of World War II, the real fulcrum may have been this unnamed, unheralded battle 500 miles to the north, a place where millions perished, and history itself was rewritten in blood and silence. The final toll is almost incomprehensible. 2.3 million casualties, 1.3 million Soviet, 1 million German, more than Stalingrad, Kursk, and D-Day combined. The numbers are so vast, they threaten to lose all meaning. But each was a life, ended or changed forever, in the snows and forests around Rzhev. Today, a modest memorial stands in Rzhev. Most visitors are local Russians, many unaware of the full horror that unfolded here. There are no epic monuments, no Hollywood blockbusters, no global pilgrimages as at Stalingrad or Normandy. There is only a quiet flame and the whisper of wind through endless birch trees, a silence that echoes Stalin's cover-up. But the truth cannot remain buried forever. After the Cold War, Russian archives opened, revealing the full story. German veterans, at last free to speak, told their stories. Historians such as David Glantz and Svetlana Gerasimova pieced together the real narrative, a tale of suffering, sacrifice, and secrecy on a scale that defies comprehension. The lesson of Rzhev is that sometimes the most important events are those that powerful people try hardest to hide. That the cost of war is always higher than the propaganda admits. And that honor must go to the soldiers who endured the unimaginable, not the leaders who sent them into hell. If this story shocked you, consider what other forgotten battles might have shaped our world. Stories erased, secrets kept, truths waiting to be unearthed. Which forgotten battle do you think deserves more attention? What other secrets of World War II have been lost to time and silence? The Battle of Rzhev stands as a testament to the millions who fell, the millions whose stories remain untold. It is a reminder that history is not just about victories and defeats, but about the lives caught between and the truths that endure long after the guns fall silent.